big old freaking hole in the carbon fiber. Should be a blue pry bar hanging right there, Andy. Oh, that looks okay. Ooh. Watch the caliper. Watch the caliper. You found the Stupid.
Cut that.
No, that's going in.
Oh my god.
What's up guys, I'm Jake and this is the wrecked 2019 McLaren 600LT in beautiful vermilion red. This is a really special car, not only because it is a McLaren, but because we get to build it ourselves. A lot of people can't say they can do that. Some of the features and specs on it, it does have 3,800 miles, which is a very low mileage example. One of my favorite parts is the fenders. This is a very expensive option, and it has these vents on the fender that release negative pressure in the wheel wells. It's just a really cool touch that a lot of cars don't have. Moving on from that, has the most dope doors in the auto industry. Nothing gets better than scissor doors. It has the 3.8 liter twin turbo V8 that has 592 horsepower, which is 30 horsepower over the traditional 570S. The reason it's a 600LT is because it is a long tail. So it has that 30 horsepower bump. That's why they go from 570 to 600, or it has 562 in the 570S and then 592 horsepower in this one. Not quite 600, but basically is. It's an LT because it is a long tail. So it is 4 inches longer. Actually, it's 2.9 inches longer, but 4 inches, 2 inches, 6 inches, 10 inches, what's the difference? It's just a lot beefier than a traditional 570. It has a lot more components and bits. Obviously, it has this top exhaust, which is super dope. Bits like the spoiler. If you check this out, it has this part right here, which is more heat resistant than the rest of the spoiler. That's why it's not painted and clear coated like it, so it doesn't deteriorate from the excessive heat. Being that we bought this at an insurance auto auction, we never got the story of what happened to this car. But if you look at it, you can tell it's been swiped down the side. Most of the damage was suspension-wise. So it's got a nice swipe going, starting from the fender. We have our suspension damage and our wheel damage, as you can see. Down the side, mostly minor and cosmetic. We will be doing some carbon fiber repair ourselves and being able to save the money in that aspect. The reason it must have totaled is because the shop wrote to replace the panels that we're going to be fixing, and they could be upwards of $10,000. This fender is $12,000 to replace. In addition, when it comes to the suspension, some of the components were broken off of their mounting points, but everything structural, such as the tub. This thing has a carbon fiber tub. It has cosmetic damage, but it doesn't have any severe damage, mostly just rub marks on the tires. That's not a big deal, and that's something that we can handle. But if a body shop wrote to replace the entire tub, that means they have to take every panel off of this car, and that alone would just be enough to total it. Having to replace upwards of $10,000 body panels and having to replace the entire carbon fiber tub, which is the main structure of this car, it makes sense why it ended up in an insurance auto auction yard. So now that we have our hands on it, it's in good hands, and we will be able to do a sweet build with you guys. We're excited to document this and put it on YouTube for other people to give their input, whether it's negative or positive. We want to hear it, so don't be a hater.
Them haters, bro.
Yes, sir. All right, well, I'm 6'2", and this is proof that even tall guys can get into cars like this, so. All right, moving on to the interior. I wouldn't call this thing bare bones, but I'd call it driver focused and raw. Raw is the best word to describe it. It gives you what you need, and nothing more. It's got a Rolls-Royce price tag, but it's not Rolls-Royce luxury. Definitely Rolls-Royce quality, I would say. Interior is covered in Alcantara. I love the touch, and it's really good for anti-glare. Got a Bowers & Wilkins sound system and just a basic center touchscreen. That's all you need. Speaking of raw, when you rev the engine on this thing, you feel your bones chatter as the RPMs rise. It's not meant to feel like a luxury sedan. It's meant to feel like a race car, and it does that so well. You get your AC, you get your screen. That's about it. You get a backup camera and you get a gauge cluster. Badass sound system. It's great to be in. Who cares that the sound system's loud, because you can feel how loud the engine is. You can feel the vibration of the engine, so you don't have to worry about having an overpowered sound system, because I get that most people might want to just turn the radio down and listen to their engine. Well, you're going to feel your engine, so might as well bump it. And speaking of the vibrations of the engine, I cannot put that in there.
All right, guys, so we got this thing up on the rack, and our first chance to look underneath it, and look at the surprise we find. Big old freaking hole in the carbon fiber undershield, and it's actually not quite a surprise. I did peek under there and see that, and this is a $4,000 piece from McLaren. So we're going to be showing you guys how to do some badass carbon fiber repair on this car. You know, we can kind of get an idea of, you know, why this car was totaled. First of all, you can see right up in here, you have the control arm broken off of the subframe. So fortunately, the control arm broke off of the subframe and didn't break the subframe off of the subframe. So everything is Gucci right in this area. Just unbolt and bolt on. And when we get the wheel off, we'll show you guys the cosmetic damage that's to it, but really no structural damage. So as we walk down, just inspecting the underside here, everything is looking freaking good. I mean, even the bolt heads are not like ground off, like somebody ran over something in this thing. You can see the forklift marks here. You know, the whole underside of this car is super clean, which tells me that this freaking damage on the rear diffuser is from a forklift. You can see it's cracked up here. We're gonna have to repair all this. We're gonna have to repair this, and it's scratched down here, but it's not like they ran over anything. They clearly didn't. There's no impact over here, so unfortunately some careless forklift driver cost us some time. Fortunately not money, because this is a $15,000 part. They didn't break it worse. And look, here's identical scratching on this side, right where the two forks would go in. You know, no use crying over spilt milk. It's all fixable, and that's what we're here to do. I love checking out the engineering on these cars. Oh, check that out. We're gonna have to buy a rear brake duct. They're both broken. I'm going for another level of rebuild here. And attention to detail, yep. This thing should be fixed right here. That's a carbon fiber undershield. Yeah, it might get scraped again. But look, why not do it? This car deserves it. Gonna be fixing carbon fiber all over this car, so I didn't expect this car to be driven lightly for its 3,800 miles. That would be unrealistic of me. I certainly won't be driving it lightly. If you guys look up in here, this is cosmetic damage, totally cosmetic. It's just graze from the tire rubbing on it. And, you know, depending on the customer's wishes, if they don't want this car to fix, and the insurance company, they're trying to, you know, I mean, the body shop is writing the car, and they can tell the customer doesn't want it fixed. He makes it clear they don't want it to fix. I mean, look, in all intensive purposes here, if this car got in an accident, it should be made whole again, right? It should be made perfect again. That is the goal whenever we're repairing the car. So the body shop that wrote the bill should have written it for a tub, because the tub is scratched here and it can't be repaired. It has a little nick in it up here where the control arm hit it, which we will show you guys when we get everything off. Not structural, again, it is cosmetic. That stuff is it can be repaired, but it's just like, if the customer doesn't want the car to fix, and if it does fix, he wants it back perfect, then that's the only way to do it, right? Just like it was before. So, not to mention, the insurance company knows they're going to get a bunch of money out of some sap like me at auction that buys this thing, and they're going to make that decision based off that. I mean, if you think about it, like, you know, the car's worth, let's say $250,000, just for number's sake, and the body shop wrote an estimate for $200,000. Well, the insurance company is going to have to pay $200,000 to get the car restored and back to the owner. Whereas if they pay the customer out, whatever they pay them out, that's between the insurance company and the customer, to call it $250,000, $230,000, whatever it may be, they can go to auction and recoup $165,000 from this, and have only lost the difference. So 165 to 250 is 90 some thousand dollars, versus paying a body shop $200,000 to repair it. That's why cars get totaled. It's not because they can't be fixed. It is because the insurance companies are all about numbers. They take the customer's wants and needs into consideration, and the estimate that the body shop is providing them into consideration, and the amount they're going to get for it back at auction in consideration. And on top of all that, they take into consideration liability. Like, they're going to carry that car for the rest of their life. Whereas if they total the car and sell it at a salvage auction, you know, it's sold as is, where is. There's no liability to the insurer at that point. So, you know, when you hear total loss or salvage, and yeah, it's ugly sometimes, it really is. But as you can see here, sometimes it's not ugly. Sometimes it's all cosmetic. Sometimes a lot of other things come into play. So, you know, just a little background from you guys, and all my experience in the collision repair industry and what I've seen led me to, you know, really understand how all this stuff works.